This is Clay Rooks at City College, and I want to talk to you about division and classification. Division is when you separate a group or a class of people, things, or ideas into categories that you establish. And classification is when you place individuals or objects or ideas into these already established categories. Let's take a look at these separately. First of all, with division, we said that's separating a group or a class of people, things, or ideas into categories that you establish. Let's use this example. Let's say a classroom of college students. They could be separated into the categories of males and females. Or we could divide up the students by their ethnicity. African Americans, Asian Americans, Hispanics, whites, and so on. They could be categorized by other things like their hair color, their college major, or their city of birth. There's any number of categories that you could use to categorize the students. The categories that you create, however, depend on your purpose for doing the categorization in the first place. In other words, what is it you're trying to show, or what is it that you want to know? Let's use this example. How many men and women are in class? Let's say that the college is doing some demographic studies and they want to find out, exactly how many men and women do we have in classes and certain classes and whatever. All right? In that case, our division, of course, would be students is our group, and we divide them into the two categories, males and females. Now, the purpose and the creation of the categories is governed by what's known as the principle of division. In this case, if your purpose is to show how many men and women are in the class, then the principle to divide and classify them has to be by gender. Gender would be the principle of division. Now, let's take a look at this here with the students, we said. All right, let's say that the college also wants to know what kind of majors do students have, and therefore, what kind of courses should we be offering and whatever. All right, so if you wanted to know what majors students have, then of course your principle of division would be by college major. And then your categories would simply be a listing of all of the majors that were available in the school. Let me give you an example using something a little different. Let's use houses, okay? Let's say maybe you're in real estate or something. One of the ways that you could divide up your listings on houses would be by size in square feet. That would be your principle of division. I'm going to do it by size. And then your categories would be ranges of different sizes of square foot for the homes. Or maybe this. Maybe instead of by size, you decide that what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide up the houses that we have by location. In that case, your principle of division would be location, and the locations would be your categories, such as north, south, east, and west. Those would be the categories. Now, classification is then when you take the individuals or the separate objects or ideas and you put them in these established categories. For example, we were looking at the one with students, and we had divided them by gender into males and females. This is the division part. The classification would be when you put the individual people into the category in which they belong. As you see, division and classification usually work together. Let me give you a different example. Something that you're all familiar with is the Internet. Let's divide the Internet into domain names. If you look at the URLs on the Internet, they are divided in what's known as domains. These are, as you may suspect or already know, .com, .edu, .gov, .org, .info, .mil, and there's some others that you know of too. But this is how it's divided up. All right? They do this to help keep track of things and to put things into different categories. So if you, for example, now build a website, then depending on what kind it is, it will have one of these domain names and it will go into that slot. All right? So if yours is a government site, you go into .gov. If it's educational, .edu. If you're doing a site that's making money or something, that's a .com. All right? Let's look at something a little bit more mundane, something that's everyday. Let's look at the grocery store. All right? You have a store. Stores are then divided, usually into sections and aisles. And then the sections are separate. Let's take a look at the produce section. We go into the produce section, and it's further divided into fruits and vegetables. We go into the fruit section, and it's further divided by different fruits. We pick apples. When we go over to where the apples are, they're further divided into type of apple. Delicious, Granny Smith, Gala, Rome, Fuji, and so on. And they each have their separate bin. This is division. All right? Now, when the guy comes in with the produce truck and he goes into the produce section and starts laying the produce into their different bins, that's classification. He's putting them where they've been classified. All right? We can think of many examples in everyday life where we see division and classification, such as the telephone book. The telephone book, as you know, has many color-coded pages these days. The one I've been looking at here, it's got some blue-coded pages that are government listings. It's got some red pages, which are listings of businesses. It's got white pages, which is the listings of the residents, the residential listings. And then, of course, it has the yellow pages. And it even has a separate section now of coupon pages. So as you can see, it has been divided up. And when things are put in it, they go into the class or the category where they are supposed to go. There are other things too, if you think in everyday life, where you see this principle being applied. The newspaper is divided up. Menus in restaurants are divided up. Clothing stores are divided up. The library is divided up. And I'm sure you can think of others where you see this principle has been used to help us keep track of things, to find things, and to do things. Division and classification is a very useful tool that is all around us and that we use all the time. So here, what do I want you to remember? Division is when you separate the group or class of people, things, or ideas into categories that you establish. You make the categories. Classification is when you place individuals, objects, or ideas into categories that already exist. All right, that'll do it.